Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Psychic Engineer podcast. I'm so excited today because I have a very special guest talking about a topic that I have been wanting to dive deep into. And I know a lot of you are going to be super excited for it as well. And this very special guest is actually coming all the way from Sydney. Well, she's in Sydney, but I'm here in the UK, and I'm so glad we connected. And I have Lydia Lee here, who is the founder of Yin Waters Astrology. She is a holistic Chinese astrologer with a background in business and over a decade of experience in supplying herbs to industry leaders in traditional Chinese medicine. And Lydia blends her experience and brings ancient systems in her work together. Her approach is really beautiful, is calm. She's done a whole report for me, which she's going to share all the details about it. And for me, we have always had Western astrology or Vedic astrology, which are my roots, but I'm so interested in finding out about Chinese astrology, which is actually due to the fire horse year this year. I'm really excited to dive into it. Lydia, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And of course, I don't want to forget to mention that you were also recently featured in Vogue and The Guardian on Australian television. Very much the fire horse year for you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same for everybody. It's all that momentum and that visibility, and that going from 0 to 100 and going all in, basically.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been following your content. So Lydia and I connected on Instagram. This is the power of social media, right? We always say that social media can be sometimes a bit toxic. It can be, all these implications that it can have and distracts us and stops us from like working in some ways. But it can also be so beautiful that it leads to such wonderful connections. And I'm so glad to have connected with you, Lydia. So I'm ready to dive in to the world of Chinese astrology and all the wisdom that you are going to be sharing with us today.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's do it.
Okay, so whenever someone comes onto my podcast episode, I always do a card pull because I'm a tarot reader. So I love finding out the energy for the podcast episode. And let's see what the oracle cards have to say for us. Okay, we got too many come out, but I'm going to take the top one here.
That's the fire horse, I think.
Love that. So, this is so cool. So we get deep intuition.
Ah, very cool. I think it's all the water that's among us as well,
Yeah.
with your birth chart and my own day master too, which we'll talk more about soon.
Oh, amazing. I love that we have already kind of like picked up the theme here, the intuition and the elements, one of the elements that you've just talked about, water. Um, let's kind of like dive right into it. So let's start off with, in Chinese astrology itself, I've been reading up about it a bit more. The elements are really, really important in how you work with them, and it's not as same as the Western astrology. So could you give an overview about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Chinese metaphysics, there is the 5 element theory. And so this is the same system that is used in traditional Chinese medicine as well as astrology.
Right.
And it's the basis that everything in the universe, including us, is made up of the 5 elements. Sorry. These are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, and then
Yeah.
back to water again. So if you think of this as the generating cycle going clockwise, it's like water gives birth to wood, wood to fire, fire to earth, earth to metal, and then metal back into water. And this is what we call the nourishing, birthing, natural cycle. And within the middle, there is a pentagram as well. So think of like a star. So it's called the controlling cycle, where, for example, water controls fire, fire controls metal, metal controls wood, wood controls earth, and then earth controls water again. And so with all these different cycles and relationships within the 5 elements, that's how we're able to sort of determine which phases in our lives and which elements are more in excess or deficient. The idea is to balance them out so that there's more, like it creates more harmony. And so it's, think of it like the flow state that athletes get into. That is what we hope to achieve with Chinese astrology. Whatever it is that, a person is seeking, whether it's love, whether it's career, whether it's happiness, fulfillment, wisdom, each phase is represented uniquely in a person's birth chart. And we use the 5 elements in order to achieve that harmony in our inner worlds, and then within our inner worlds it then reflects into our outer world as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. How you mentioned there's also wood, the metal element, which is it's because I've been studying a lot of Western astrology, so it's really interesting to see what elements kind of govern the basis of the Chinese astrology as well. You mentioned a bit about yourself that you are also more water. So what are the characteristics of a person that has a bit more water in their chart?
Yeah, so water is associated with like willpower, calm, but also fear and phobia as well. So there's that polarity within the 5 elements known as the yin or yang, yin or yang polarity. And so it's not that one is better than the other. They're just the different aspects to the element, for example. And I guess in a way you can see it as strengths and vulnerabilities, or talents and challenges and things like that. So with water element, it's associated with flow and freedom. It's associated with business as well. So strategy belongs in water, intelligence, but the kind of intelligence that is more philosophical or a deep intuition as well. Each of the elements have their own intelligence too, like a different kind of feature that they will have. And so if you are either like a water day master, day masters are actually the core self of a person. So in Chinese astrology, it's often heard where, you're born in the year of the rooster, for example. And that is the more mainstream understanding of Chinese astrology. But that is actually the outer layer of who we are. That is the, our inherited traits from our ancestry. It's also how we feature in society, and also, I suppose, just the more outer layers of us, like I said. But the actual core self and the way that Chinese astrology, or Ba-zi, and the 4 pillars of destiny is read is actually the core self day master. And you can be one of 10 because there's 5 possible elements, but within the 5 possibilities, there's the yin and yang aspect. So then that, it makes it the 10. And being, say, a water day master, either a yin water or yang water day master, it makes you that core self of water. But then we also look at the strength of water, for example, in a chart. So you could be a fire day master, but a small one, and then your more dominant energy could be water. And so therefore water will be a big influence in your life. And depending on where it's all placed. So we spoke about water controlling fire. And when that happens, if there's a small fire and big water, it can be quite a dominating and unbalanced, excessive energy that can make somebody feel a little bit more harder to move, overstructured. And so that then we look at all the other elements and we try to build upon making it more sort of draining that water or redirecting the water so that it flows much better in a person's chart.
Yeah, very interesting. You also mentioned about Bazi, so the 4 pillars of destiny. I just want to touch a little bit about that. So what exactly does that entail, and how can that benefit someone knowing and knowing for themselves?
Absolutely. So Chinese astrology is based on the theory of like 天地人. 天地人 is like heaven and earth and human. And so the idea is that like destiny is made up of these 3. And knowing your Bazi chart is part of heaven. It's kind of what fate dealt you. And they're the energetics you're born with. And having this blueprint can show you your strengths and vulnerabilities. So where to really focus your attention to. So you're not working against your natural energies, but you're working with them. And then we've got the earth, feature, which is like feng shui. This is why people are obsessed with feng shui, because they want to maximize their earth like chi or their earth luck. And so we can also change up the earth energy by where we work, who we hang with, where our routines from day to day, for example, in terms of location and geography. And then we've got human, which is you and me, our free will, our choices, our cultivation, how conscious we are, how aware we are as well. And so this whole framework of astrology it provides you with the blueprint, and then it also provides you with strategies that you can maximize your environment, and also optimize your day to day as well, so that you can build your own energy or drain it where it needs, and sort of harmonize your own energetics in a way that really supports you. So
Yeah.
this 4-pillar of destiny is about literally the 4 pillars. So what they are is it's determined by the year we're born, the month we're born, the day we're born, and hour we're born. And as a result, we end up with up to 4 animals in our chart. So when people talk about, oh, I'm born in the year of the rooster, it's just the year pillar we're isolating to. And then we've got the month pillar, day pillar, and hour pillar. And in these, the animals represent certain energetics as well. And you see the way these animals interact with each other, whether they're supportive combinations or sometimes they could be clashes as well. And as a result, you can do certain things in your life and make adjustments to be able to optimize your own energetics. And so Ba-zi is actually translated to 8 words or 8 characters in English. And what it does represent is the top energies in our 4 pillars, as well as the branch energies. So there's 8 elements that are at play in our chart, 8 main elements really. And so we look at the strengths and the strengths of all of these and their holistic combination and how they manifest in our lives as well. So,
Wow.
So basically, with Chinese astrology, it's less about the cards you're dealt, and it's less about a fixed fate, but more about moving with our dynamic energies that keep changing as well. So we are born with this energetic blueprint, but then in addition, we have the annual luck cycles. So right now we're in the year of the horse, of course, and with the 10-year luck cycles, it's more personal though and unique to every birth chart. So that changes every 10 years as well. And we look at how that interacts with our sort of entire energetics. So if we think about the 10-year luck cycle as the weather, or if you think about us as the driver in our vehicle, that is our personal energetics. And then we've got the 10-year luck cycle, which is like the weather, whether it's raining or sunny. And then we have the condition of the road, which is like our annual luck cycle. So potholes or smooth or slippery, that kind of thing.
Interesting. So when you do a report, you tell people more about so what aspects do you focus on? Is it like the annual luck cycle, for example, for someone?
So when I am doing a chart reading, we always start with the day master, so our core self, because the entire chart revolves around that day master and how the elements are positioned and how they are and how they interact with our core self is really important. And we look at that first, and then we go through, we look at all the different phases. So in addition to the 5 elements, we also have like phases that are attached to the 5 elements. So you being a water day master, for example, your next element is wood, if we go clockwise, as mentioned, and that is also your expression phase. Expression means output. For biological females, it's children. It's also legacy, though, the legacy you build. And then when you move on clockwise, it's fire element next, but that's your wealth element. And for biological females, wealth is your father as well, or your paternal figures in life. It doesn't have to be a biological dad. And it is also, of course, wealth, money, success, but it's more than material. It is, fulfillment, wisdom as well, and just like the satisfaction of achieving. And also the power element would be next with the power phase with the earth element. And that is kind of like your structure, your routine, also your leadership and your romance. And then we have resource phase that follows, which is metal. And metal and the resource element represents your maternal figures, your thoughts as well. And so as you can see, then it starts being more complex, where each element is featured as a phase. And then that's how we analyze a person's natural tendencies. And so, metal, for example, can be more structured in a way that is more meticulous, with attention to detail. So with you, for example, that is how you think naturally, to be more discerning and things like that. And then in your expression, for example, is wood, and wood is more about learning, growing, coaching, mentoring. And then you have, wealth phase like fire. And for you, it fires that visibility, it's connection as well, community, socialization, and also performance and things. And then power in earth is that structure in a way that is more like rooted, grounded. And so, these 5 phases are very different for each person. And that's why the day master is so important, because it moves the phases around depending on what your self or your core day master is.
Oh, very interesting. I only have the Western astrology to compare it to, and I've always wondered, how we change so much day to day, and we are never this constant person. Like some days I'm very much, some people would describe me as more fire based, have so much passion and energy, and then some days I'm just very much more intuitive side is more active. So how do we see that flow? But I like how you have described it, that actually it's following the day master, right? And then kind of like looking at how you can go around the whole cycle.
Yeah, it's a beautiful system, and we've been using it for 2 to 3,000 years at the very least, and it is very deeply rooted in Chinese metaphysics. Yeah, you just keep learning, really. You never stop. It's one of those things that you can just get deeper and deeper into.
I have so many questions, and one is actually last year I did actually follow a feng shui system to arrange my office. I followed an app, and I followed which way is north and then, south. And I looked at all the different angles where to place my desk in the office and to not have any still water around me, especially in the wealth zone. And I remember that's last summer when I did all of this. It came almost like I felt like I needed to make a change, not like a huge change, but like something around me. The space was just not conducive to my creativity and productivity. And when I did those things and I'd make those arrangements, and I did feel like I just had much more energetic space. And that's actually when the podcast started.
Wow. Yeah, you see, like it really is. We can feel it, and we know ourselves intuitively what feels wrong and what needs to change. And we should really listen to that, and the fact that like with feng shui, it'd be so complementary to the report that I shared with you. So you will now see which are the elements that are more favorable for you, and you'll know how to balance it out, whether it's for your well-being, love, and just your career, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. You can definitely use that feng shui with 八字 as well, because I'm not sure about like all feng shui. I'm not really sure about how it works, but often when you go online and sort of look into DIY type things, sometimes particular elements are not supportive for us, and when that happens, it's like it can I suppose affect our luck or affect our health even. And so it is important to look at personal energetics, especially if you live as part of a bigger household too, because you might find that, for example, for you, the earth element is quite supportive for you. But then, say your partner or your child or your parents, the earth element's actually rated quite unfavorable for them. And so, as a result, you can have like a disharmony. And so, it's very important when we are doing feng shui and we live with other people to be to consider other people's energetics too, and to really only work on our own space unless we know the collective like energetics of everybody in the household.
So what you recommend is that if you're living in, because I currently live with, my family, and so what you would suggest is that wherever the space is yours is what you make it according to your own personal elements, or whatever favors you. What about the communal areas? Like, how could we
Yeah,
look
so
at
it'll be best to look at everybody's personal energetics in that,
that?
that's the case. And it's quite easy to find out these days online. You can just use, all sorts of free tools, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so, and then you can sort of see what is good for everybody. And then sometimes if something's not so good for somebody, just to avoid that in their own personal areas. But then of course there's like greater feng shui of a home, like in as well. So there's different levels to it. But I suppose what I specialize in is personal energetics. And so that's the part I'm most mindful about, which is like configuring feng shui in a way that supports our personal energetics as well.
I love that. I can't wait to spring clean that I'm going to do in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait to rearrange it and apply everything that you have mentioned. I wanted to touch upon something you mentioned earlier about the year of the fire horse, but specifically Yang fire horse.
Yeah, so the fire horse is this year's animal.
Mm.
And the fire horse carries yang fire,
Mm.
but and that's in the heavenly stems, so that's like the main element of this year's fire horse. And then we've got the like the branch energy, which is yin fire, so more fire, and then some yin earth as well. And so what that means is that it is going to be really hot. And the reason why there's so much talk about this year is because the Yang Fire Horse only happens once every 60 years. So it's quite a rare cycle. And being the hottest cycle, we will expect a lot of volatility.
Mhm.
And so this volatility can be quite powerful, as you know. It can be momentum, it can be really swift action. Yang energy is all about, focus, swift, direct, things, it's either yes or no. It's quite clear like that. And when we do sort of cultivate yang properly, it can be an extremely powerful energy. However, if yang isn't cultivated or mindfully handled, it can be scattered, it can be restlessness, it can be anxiety. And so there's a lot of polarity this year. And depending on how we approach it, how we prepare, and how we structure, that will be the difference between having, I suppose, a very supportive cycle versus one that is challenging. But having said that, challenges are not bad. They're not a bad thing. I think that society has sort of labeled, adversity, challenge, suffering as things that are just to be avoided. However,
Yeah.
what I've seen, through my lived experience is these these challenges are what deepen us. They really do strengthen us and provide us with more range, more intuition, more compassion. Without, the other side of life, we would have quite a one-dimensional understanding of life in general. This is what I do also apply through my work, is not to be afraid of change, transformation, and challenges, because you can't have the extraordinary fruit at the end of it without going through the challenge. And so what's very important to note this year, especially with the Yang Fire Horse, for some people it'll be extraordinarily smooth, because the Fire Horse will interact with their individual unique chart in a way that is completely supportive. And so it'll be joyful, it'll be full of love, passion, lots of results, just the fire in full flame. But then for others, fire will be overwhelming, and so it's important to sort of recognize and label that and understand that energy too, so that you can also be like, it's just this year that's like this, and not attach it to your identity or or it being, this is the way that my life is, sort of thing. That everything is temporary, and with the cycles, they continually shift. And so like it's a very, very interesting and dynamic energy this year. So there's so much talk about it. And I guess there's more attention on it as well, because fire is about attention and visibility. And so it really is lived Yang Fire Horse this year.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because I wondered so much when I was initially, learning a bit more about what does exactly the Yang Fire Horse mean? And there's been quite a buzz on social media about it. A lot of people mentioned this means that it's all about like action, results, where we were stuck. And I think the point that you made is so crucial, that it really depends on how your personal chart is, and how that interacts with the fire horse. It's not going to negate, whilst that may be a collective energy, or, having this year, what happens for you is ultimately also dependent on you and how you balance those energies as well. So I think that's a really crucial point, because a lot of people probably have become reliant. I can relax a bit with the fire horse when it comes, then the momentum will come, and kind of like thinking that things will be taken care of for them, whilst, kind of like that energy will carry them forward. But it's rather not quite like that. Or what would you have to say on that?
Yeah, so it definitely is all about how we receive the fire horse. And sometimes if you're naturally carried and swept away by momentum, it's not necessarily a supportive thing either. So you can think of it like when you fall in love at first, or you've met somebody and they've swept you off your feet, and there's all this love bombing, and everything is like rose-colored lenses and sunshine and roses. But then actually, if you took a step back and objectively see, how it's unfolding, sometimes it is not healthy. It is just, you're in love with the idea of love. And so like using that example, it's important to step back always, and just to sort of observe and to prepare yourself in a way that is more grounded, in a more grounded, able and structured kind of way, so that the fire doesn't end up burning soul. As fire is really powerful in both ways, it can really help or harm us. Like it can provide the light and visibility on things, but then also it can burn us and dry us as well. So that it's very important to note the polarity and to receive it in a way that does support us. If we know we have natural tendencies to be too rash or impatient, to really just slow things down.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's just take an example. If someone, you can take me as an example, someone who's water dominant this year, how can they work with the fire horse this year?
So your chart, for example, because you are water dominant, what fire will do is controls metal, the metal element, like we spoke about in the beginning. And what that tends to do, because metal is your resource, it may mean that you might feel less lucky this year, or less supported by the universe, let's say. And then, but what we can do is we can drain that fire away from your wealth and fire phase through your earth and power phase. So what that means is you can do activities like gardening or staying at home, doing feng shuiing your home as well, and decorating your place with beautiful things that, are very meaningful to you. Could be like antiques and things like that, or crystals, because they're of the earth as well. So there's actual like strategies we can use, as what earth will do as well. It does control or minimize your excess water. So by doing so, you're likely to feel less busy or stuck or stagnant as well in your self phase.
Okay, that's really cool to know, because I do find that I have so many, things going on, and restlessness, as you mentioned earlier, is really like something that has been very active, and it hasn't kind of calmed down. But so what you're saying is, by looking at how we can balance those elements, or draining, exactly as you mentioned. So draining
Mm.
certain can actually bring that all into a lot more balance.
Yeah, and also for you as well, having this excess fire this year is not a bad thing for you as such. I mean,
Mm.
it's just going to increase your wealth potential. So you're likely to feel that I'm likely to achieve more this year than
Yeah.
norm. And it can be extremely motivating for you as well. So then there's that other side where it's extremely inspiring and very powerful to be able to feel that additional potential. And then as a result,
Mm.
you could be naturally being more productive or progressive this year, because you want to just naturally move towards that. And so, yeah, it's very, very dynamic. And with your large water energy, you don't need to be afraid of fire, because your large water will naturally try to control fire anyway. And yeah, and the fire will always stay under control in your chart because of your large water energy that's there.
Okay. Let's talk about a bit more collectively. What industries would you say would thrive this year, perhaps?
So airspace, travel, like space as well, AI, technology, beauty, as well as sort of like social media industries. Yeah, so it does range a lot, and communities, spiritual industries like ours, I suppose, and youth, because youth is that, I suppose, that like prime yang energy as well. And
Mm.
um, fire is all about, laughter, like joy. So comedy, particularly in entertainment too, could thrive. And yeah, so that's on a macro scale, but also potential conflicts too, because
Yeah.
politics and leadership will be affected. So that there'll be
Mm.
a lot of volatility in that regard as well.
Yeah. I guess we're seeing some of that already.
We
Yeah.
definitely are. Yeah. So hopefully, I guess, like, if we can all turn to water in a time like this when fire gets too hot, water
Yeah.
is the element to control and harmonize excess fire if needed.
Okay.
Mm.
And in terms of a personal archetype, so we've talked about water already. Let's quickly mention, for someone who's listening, what about, like, their own archetype, like someone who's more wood dominant? How can they balance that out a bit more?
Yeah.
Metal.
Absolutely. So wood archetypes, they're usually the lifelong learner. They
Mm.
want to help everybody. They're extremely generous and really compassionate. And so what wood does is it feeds fire. So if you do have excess wood, it would just mean you might feel a lot hotter and drier. So potential struggles could be impatience or frustration, anger could arise. And as a result, water will again be your remedy. So,
Yeah.
meditating, keeping calm, spending a lot of time connecting with water, and maybe putting a moving water feature in the north of your space could be a
Okay.
feng shui. Yeah. Um, a feng shui solution, and just generally like communicating, connecting, that's really important. So also connecting to the strong, like the supportive sides of wood and fire. So to volunteer more often, that would be something that would be helpful, and to connect with community, for example. And so with people who have fire dominant energies already, the fire is just going to exacerbate their like self element. And so it'd be very important not to become too arrogant or even cruel sometimes. And that's also within yourself, not just towards other people, but not to have that harsh self energy or criticism override everything. And so it can be important to tap into joy, watch more comedies, and like romantic comedies are ideal actually, because that's very fire, the positive side of fire, and
Yeah.
making time to do what you love to do in life, connecting to your passions, and not just, obligation and duty this year. Really carve out time for fun and have that as part of your strategy and not feel guilty about it. And also you could increase your beauty routine. It sounds vain, but it's not supposed to be. It's about looking good and feeling good as well, from our heart basically, and to really connect with our heart center and be motivated and led by our heart this year. For earth types, so if you already have big earth, fire is going to be lots of resource for you. So you'll likely feel luckier this year. And sometimes it could be being too stuck in the thought process and not doing and not actioning. So it'll be important for those with earth dominant to I suppose focus on moving forward in a more strategic and planned way, that is like creating lists and really following through. For metal dominant types, the fire may feel a little bit restrictive as fire controls metal. And in that way, they may feel like they are sort of under control or maybe claustrophobic. And if that is the case, to turn to water again. So to have it flow through water and do the calming, communicate. Don't just contract into the self, and stay social. Community is important, and things like that. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, very very quickly.
Very interesting. If anyone who is now wondering, oh, what type am I? Go check this out, or connect with Lydia, because then you can find out and see how to balance it out. So this is very interesting. Let's dive into my own chart now. I've been very excited to go into it because Lydia created a very beautiful report for myself, and I've been going through it, but I'd love to ask you more questions about it. And it's something you offer in your consultation too.
So this report is something that's included in my sessions, but it's not something I've generated. It's part of my school of astrology, or one of my schools that I've studied with, which is Inner Alchemy Astrology. And they focus on harmonizing the energetics for health and wellness and healing. And so it's a very limited report, as it only covers very brief features of everything. And so what's in addition to water is like energetic medicine, and like healing as well, and business, like strategy, and communication, in addition to that too. So water, there's a lot to each element, and it's also it's important to factor in how all the other elements are interacting in your chart too. So if you jump back to the first page, there is a section called the predominant heavenly influence, and that's on the right side towards the middle, and yours is thriving structure. What that means is that your divine mission in life is yin water as well. And it doesn't say explicitly here, but because I know how to interpret the chart. And so what yin water is, it's like, it is that element of suppose intuition, like deep intuition and philosophy. But it's also yeah, exactly that. And so, but also in intelligence and communication, like I mentioned. And what's really cool about your chart is that you have this one big element which is water. So more than 50% of your chart resides in water. And from the people I've seen and the charts that I've read, most people I've seen over the age of 50 to 60 years old with one big phase in an element are often extremely like renowned, or they're leaders of some sort. And I mean in a very extraordinary way, or they're highly successful, very wealthy, or they've revolutionized the industry in that particular industry too. So water
Yeah.
is also music, it's dance, it's yoga. So I don't think it was written down there from memory. And it's meditation, like I mentioned, and medicine too. So like even medical doctors can be part of water as well. So it's very, very cool to see, because it means that you will most likely really thrive in the water element in your career and in life. But the key for you is to balance that water out when you're not using your talents. So whilst we are given these natural talents, it's also important to try and move the energetics around. And so even with like kinesiology or like Reiki and things, or through acupuncture, if you can focus on cycling or circulating your energies, that will be feel most comfortable for you and really support your holistic well-being.
Okay, so that's actually a great reminder that I need to practice Reiki more on myself too, because I'm trained in Reiki, but you know, when you are a healer for other people, you sometimes forget yourself, and it's
Absolutely.
so that is a great nudge right there.
And
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to add before I forget, with water energies, especially
Mm.
being so large, it's always super important for you to cleanse every single
Mm.
day, as our water can get muddied easily by our external environment and things we pick up from others. And
Yeah.
so to cleanse is essential for water types, as it can get really heavy and dirty and muck up our sort of purity in a way. And so if you take like regular salt baths, or if you can bathe in the ocean
Mm.
regularly in running water or moving water, would be extremely supportive. Or you can cleanse through meditation to do meditative practices, or Reiki as well, to sort of purify constantly.
That is a good reminder for sure. I'm just looking at the 10 years luck cycle now. We talked about it earlier, you mentioned. Let's dive right into it. Yeah, I'm pretty much like brand new to this, so I'm happy for you to for you to lead me through it.
Totally. With the 10-year luck cycle, you're still currently in the tiger cycle.
Mhm.
And with the tiger cycle, it ends on your birthday in 2026. 10-year luck cycles start and finish around our birthdays. It's not exact. You could probably start feeling the change within the year already. And so you're about to move into rabbit cycle. Your previous tiger cycle was likely to be a little challenging in some ways, but you would, especially the tail end of the tiger may have been quite difficult.
Yeah.
But to note that it was extremely important to structure yourself, so
Mm.
that the challenging energy was there in order for you to sort through and structure all that excess water that can be too free flowing and sort of too freeing in a way. There was a lot of travel
Mm.
and study involved as well. But
Yeah.
mainly you were doing what you wanted to do. It stopped being the cycle before that one was one that it felt like you were putting in effort into something, but you weren't receiving the fruits
Mhm.
of, what you had poured into. But your tiger cycle was more comfortable in the way that you felt, no, I'm doing what I want. This is what I want to do. And so tigers are always quite a powerful cycle, as it's very yang. So yang cycles are, extremely like doing action, lots of action, especially with the travel star in your luck cycle. So I don't think we talked about the stars as well. There are also symbolic stars that influence our cycles and influence our charts in addition to the animals as well. So they're added like an extra dynamic into a chart reading. And generally in this report in particular, they're all quite supportive. And so you want as many stars as possible. In some ways, they're like guardians or that energy to really like help you and support you in your time of need as well. So with your rabbit cycle, it's actually going to be pretty good in the way that it's like some expression energy as well as wealth energy for you, and the kind of wealth that's proper wealth. So the income becomes more stable and consistent, as well as it being more rewarding and fulfilling as at the same time. And so we can see how it differs. And then in your report under the 10-year luck cycle, it maps out all the animals as well and how each of them interact. So as you can see with tiger, which is the one you're currently at the tail end of, it has, allies like horse and dog, and then it conflicts with monkey. Rabbit is like, ram boar, it conflicts with rooster. So you are about to enter into a conflicting cycle, I suppose, a clash cycle. And in the report too, it lists like a secret friend. So what that secret friend does, it's a feng shui object or a symbol that can be a lucky charm for you to mitigate any clash energies. So your upcoming clash is likely to be something to do with like your place in society or your greater plans in life. It could be also your real estate or like investments and things. And so your secret friend will be the dog, basically. So what that means is if you can get a lucky charm like a dog, or you can change your phone screensaver, or get, like a sculpture or painting of a dog and place it into your affected area, the whole 10 years, for example, that could really help. But you have an inbuilt dog in your 4 pillars though. So your owl pillar is a dog. So technically, your personal energetics already mitigate this clash as well. So yeah, like you have like an inbuilt protection in a way. But then if you do feel overwhelmed, feel free to get, to supplement that with another dog if you wanted to. So yeah, this is like part of feng shui as well.
Does that also include like having a pet dog?
Yes, it most certainly does. Yeah.
Interesting.
And what and in addition to that, that rabbit cycle that's incoming is going to be extremely supportive for your career palace. So the career palace is usually the month pillar as well. And it's also our maternal figures in our lives, including our mentors. And so you're likely to, feel support through your maternal mentors and in your career palace as well.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, especially with because I work majority of the time with women, and I have women mentors, and like, even lifting off my business has been through other women who have supported me in the local community and online, so it's really, that really resonates deeply.
It's really exciting, actually. Like whenever you see an animal, that's supportive of our like career palace, it's kind of a signal to be like, okay, let's get stuck into it. This is a cycle that's going to support me, and all my investments are going to yield some fruit. So yeah, it's extremely exciting for you.
I feel good about this.
I'm glad.
So then the next part I'm just looking at now, that was the 10-year cycle, and now it's like a annual luck cycle. Talk me through that as well, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year is quite supportive as well of your like legacy. These are things, it could be, products you want to build or offerings you want to build online as part of your creation. Yeah. So that this is a very good year for you to do so, especially through social media or digital offerings because of that fire energy. However, in contrast, there is a clash in your like marriage pillar, finding love, for example. But that you do have a remedy, which is the ram. yeah, if you sort of get the lucky charm, that's the ram that can really help alleviate it. So like a sheep, or it could be you wear more wool, or like little Ugg boots that are made of sheep. Or it could be like even a soft toy, or yeah, like a painting, or even just your screensaver on your phone or your computer desktop, just for the year, especially if you are wanting to find love. Can I jump into love, by the way? Because while we're
Absolutely,
talking
yes.
about
That
yeah, the
that was
marriage
gonna be
hours,
my next question. Yes,
yeah.
my romantic life is now revealing to you. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
so it's actually super exciting despite the clash. So
Mhm.
clashes sometimes are a good thing. So if you felt that your love life has been a certain way up until this year,
Mm,
and it's like the same old thing. You want the clash to happen so that it can be a
mhm.
breakthrough, and it can be
Yeah.
something new, something that's different. However, I would recommend getting that RAM before you do sort of go on your dates, and like for all of this year as protection. But
Mhm.
in addition to that, you do have a romance star this year. So what
Oh,
the romance star usually represents is the potential to attract more suitors. And then we can also make that the good kind. Your chart suggests that probably towards the end of this year, you're likely to meet someone or even the one. It's a very big
mhm.
possibility. For a biological woman, proper power, indicated in their chart is like the proper partnership, or like the husband, if you will, or the proper
Yeah.
partnership. And so you've got that this year along with the romance star. So your chances of meeting the one is quite high this year if you put yourself out there, as well as I suppose it's important to do the inner work, because our inner world attracts the outer world as well. And there's also a feng shui ritual you can do, which is called activating your peach blossom. And when you're ready, when your intentions are clear and you are ready to like attract the one and not just be umming and ahhing and maybe, like sort of denying that part of you, or sort of being distracted by work and things like that, you can start by placing fresh white flowers in a round metallic vase in the west of your love space. So usually it's either the bedroom or the kitchen space. And so
Mhm.
by doing so, you will activate your peach blossom. And then that will help attract the good suitors your way. And also, yeah, with doing so, you need to keep these fresh flowers fresh, and
Mhm.
don't leave it to die or rot, and keep the water fresh as well, so that it's the good energy that you are bringing into your life.
Wow, I love that because I think what you just mentioned about, the until now, the romance sector has been a certain way. It felt like it has been a lot of lessons, things that I um maybe have attracted certain partners, but it was always a lesson. There was something that was learned, and then I was like, gosh, how many lessons have I got to learn?
Oh, hopefully this year will be different for you. Hopefully that clash will just be a breakthrough. And then along with the activating your peach blossom, like do let me know how it goes. And so with the annual luck cycles, they start and finish around the lunar solar new year. So like
Mm,
the Chinese New Year, as they call it, like it can be a little bit before, a little bit after, but generally speaking, the annual luck cycles are that lunar solar new year, and the 10-year luck cycles are around our birthdays.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be, yeah, like I turned 33 in November, so it would be around like that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But
Interesting.
from now until, like maybe February next year, your peach blossom is in full blooms. Get ready.
I'm getting my flowers ready tomorrow, getting
Yeah.
feng shui ready. So this is very exciting.
Always know to know where to look, and this is where these charts can be really helpful to show us the way where we're sort of lost in our natural tendencies, for example.
Yeah, it's like picking out our blind spots, because we're always
Yeah.
like, at least especially since I've started working more by myself,
Mm.
it's just me and my thoughts and my head. And it's like, how do you spot that, almost like someone to guide you, hey, look this way, this might be a bit more beneficial, turn this way. That guidance is often very useful.
Yeah. And then to go off with the colors, as an example, like I'm considered a weak water day master, like a weak yin
Okay.
water day master. Weakness only means that we require more external support. And so we just need to like work on building more so than like a strong chart, for example. But sometimes strong means they have to drain or work another way to harmonize that element. But
Mm.
being like a weak water day master, I used to really dislike navy and like navy colors, and I'd never had a single navy piece of clothing in my wardrobe because
Yeah.
I despised it that much. And so since I've started practicing Bads myself, I've been more proactive about adding navy into my wardrobe, and
Mm.
it's really part of the energetics where you're right about the blind spots. Like in my whole life, I think navy was my most hated color, and now that
Yeah.
I've embraced it, I have personally felt the changes. Um, and yeah, these are just very small examples of how we can use feng shui and energetics in order to build certain areas of us where we might have missed it had we not looked into our like natural tendencies more.
Yeah. Very cool.
Hmm.
You mentioned initially about how your report kind of talks of more, has a holistic focus, right? And coming from a um, Chinese medicine background as well, and kind of like combining that. So I saw something about at some point you mentioned all the different organs as well and what that means.
Yeah,
Um,
so it is, there's also organs that are associated with each element too. And
mm,
so I'm personally not a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I've been working in wholesale, like supplying herbs to the
yeah,
industry leaders in this industry for about 15 years, I think. And so I have a lot of interaction with, the Chinese medicine industry. So I don't
yeah,
usually go into too much details about health and the organs in particular from a physical aspect, especially because I feel like I'm not qualified, like in that way, as like a Chinese medicine practitioner would be. But yeah, they definitely have, characteristics like that's why with fire, it's really important that we look after our heart, but it's not just the heart, it's the small intestines as well, because of the yin
mm,
fire element too. Yeah. So with yang fire, yin fire, there's the different organs. Sorry. So yeah, actually yang fire is the small intestines and yin fire is actually the heart. So there's both of those things that we should watch out for this year.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Very interesting. And just going back to, I'm just going through the report, and there's
Yeah.
one I, again about the rooster you mentioned. You know how we kind of talk more about that as the year that you are born in, and that represents the kind of the animal, the characteristics of your birth year animal are kind of given to you. But of course, there's a lot more to it. But so I've got the rooster here, and how can we work with that, knowing that from our natal chart?
Yeah, so that the rooster is more like what you've inherited from your ancestry, for example, and it's like the outer layer of you. And so the rooster is one of the four charismatic animals out of the 12 zodiacs. So what
Mm,
that means is that you naturally have this inbuilt peach blossom that people are going to be really attracted to you. You're like a magnet in a way. And it's that kind of charisma that's not just limited to how you look, it is an energy about you that's
mm,
really refined and classy and cultured. And so, yeah, we can start looking at these animals, and this is how you appear. To people like on the outside, and this is kind of the first impression you give. So you give a very strong first impression that's lasting, and in sort of networking situations or in social situations, you might find that people get drawn to you just very naturally. And yeah, that's a feature of the rooster.
wow, very interesting. So everyone in that year would have that characteristic. So in in
Yes, everyone in
1993.
that year would definitely have that characteristic. And then you also have another charismatic animal, which is the rat as well. So actually 2 out of 4 of your chart is has the the natural peach blossom, as they call it. So like we mentioned about the rooster being really refined and classy, and the rat is more about intelligence. And your day pillar is like you. It's like yourself. It's your relationship and your marriage pillar as well. So your partnership in the future is likely to be like highly all about intelligence, communication, philosophy, and someone who challenges you as well. That is like like you, because you are like the same element, but the polarity of you. And so it keeps things interesting, and it can provide you with more like trait diversity, but at the same time you'll share a lot of commonalities being in the same element too. So yeah, that the rat element is, I guess, if you think of it, so in the story of the 12 zodiacs and the race that the emperor had put together, the rat rode on the ox's back until the very end, when the rat hopped off and won the race. And so it shows that kind of intelligence that thinks outside the box. It's unconventional. It's creative intelligence. And so yeah, that's what you're most likely to be at your core, and also within your marriage in the future as well.
Very cool. It's yeah. It's like I'm immediately thinking of like, okay, what professions? Like, what
Your
profession is this person likely to be in, right? Like, like my mind.
could be entrepreneurial,
Okay.
could be medicine, like all of those
Yeah.
industries that we mentioned, what water element could represent. And like could be like you, but the polarity of you too,
Yeah.
because in your career palace, it's all water as well. Your heavenly stem is yin water, your
Yeah.
monthly stem is yang water. And then you've got a
Okay.
bit of wood underneath. So what that usually represents is that you're going to be extraordinary at a water profession, but then there's also a hidden talent of being an excellent coach, and an excellent mentor, and also being committed to being a lifelong student. So you're someone who's always going to continue to develop yourself, better yourself, and also better people around you as well. So
Yeah.
that's a really, really nice energy to see, especially being a spiritual coach. It means that you really are, expressing your talents and sharing that, in a very contribute to like a very helpful way to those around you. And then you have the stars of travel and prospect as well in your career palace. And travel means like a lot of movement. So you could potentially, be someone who travels a lot for work and be in touch with international people, like like what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And then the prospect star is an excellent star for boosting wealth potential.
Oh,
And so it's likely that you will gain, good income from what you do in life, as well as helping people. So it's very synergistic, and your partnership, is represented by water again. And so, yeah, it's a strong likelihood that there's somebody who's like you in many ways, and then who challenges you in a healthy way as well. So, yeah, very exciting.
yeah.
Um,
Very
and
exciting.
then sorry, I just wanted to add too, like
Yeah.
in your marriage pillar, there's that commander and aggression star. So commander is very enterprising, very independent. So yeah, there's an entrepreneurial aspect to your marriage, or partnership. And that can be a sign. And then the aggression star, don't be alarmed by the name. It's just like a very strong characteristic. So yeah, like it's likely that your relationship is maybe opposites attract, and then there's a dynamic between you that's constantly challenging each other, which is excellent for growth as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's very revealing. I'm fascinated how that information was revealed
Yeah.
through, with the different stars and like, symbolic stars that you mentioned in each pillar. It's giving me comfort as well because, I made a leap last year. And as you mentioned, like, kind of tail end of the tiger year. Tiger year or tiger
cycle, the 10-year luck cycle.
a 10-year tiger cycle, like you mentioned, like tail end would have been quite challenging, and that all is true. It has where I made a big switch and has been hard. It has been like experimenting with the free flowing, but actually I did need that structure, and that was really hard, and it's something that I struggled with putting that in place by myself. And so some of the things that you mentioned is like exactly what happened last year, and like now kind of towards the tiger year would end on my 33rd birthday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, then, yeah.
So like from last year, like there were certain health challenges. And so it's all like kind of looking back at it, I'm just like, this makes sense now. This actually makes sense. And when you mentioned about the romance star, like I was literally thinking a couple of days ago, like I've just been working and maybe this is what I'm meant to do this year, but somehow I was feeling like, no, maybe there's time to kind of like really actually delve into that, because you've always put work first, kind of thing. So yeah,
I
like nice.
Yeah, so basically we already know, intuitively, like what's good for us and what we, should do. Like because you're an intuitive worker, you will intuitively be more connected to yourself and source as well. And so what my readings do is they just reconnect you and remind you of things you already know, and to put more focus on, because whatever surfaces, whatever lands with you, is the thing that's quite important to you. And then it's important to honor that, and then put things in place, put systems in place and action, and really act upon that in order to sort of live your most authentic version of your life, so that you can feel fulfilled and holistically well. So that's really important. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that you felt that. You felt the shift and you're like, maybe I should, put more focus here and there, because it could be the peach blossom calling you this year, like really nudging you, into that, to be like, hey, this is like time, like this is all about timing and cycles and things. And yeah, that's the beauty of this system. It's so lovely to be able to feel supported and comforted and validated by the decisions we make, and to recognize when things are temporary, and that this too shall pass when we are going through difficult times.
Yeah. That was so fascinating. I'm sure I will have some questions come up and I'll probably mention them too. But thank you so much for like mentioning sharing all your wisdom, interpreting the chart, and also kind of giving me a confirmation of the intuition that I've been having as well. So, yeah, this that it's fascinating. Yeah, so thank you for that. Let's shift the focus onto you. I would love to know more about you and how I know we've talked before, and you mentioned that you switched from a corporate world as well to following your calling, and like what made that switch, how you came to doing what you're doing now and actually really thriving, from what I have seen on from Instagram and all your different achievements this year too. But generally, I think just like your page just gave me, your Instagram page, which is where I first saw you, just gave me such a great feeling. Like, I just felt like, oh, this is so interesting. And so like, I immediately sensed the vibe, and I just got like such a great vibe. Like, oh, I felt so like peaceful and safe, and your page does do that. So I'd love to know more about you and your path.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for all your kind words. Honestly, it means so much, because I do feel like I'm bearing my soul in a way in my work. And so it does make me feel vulnerable in some ways, but I'm so passionate about Chinese astrology that honestly, my journey to it happened really naturally. So as you can see, my background is Chinese. Well, my parents are from Taiwan, and my like grandparents are from like Jiangxi and Shandong in China originally. However, I was born in Australia. I was not connected to my culture. not really. My parents weren't that cultural where, a lot of parents might have, celebrated like the lunar solar new year or even moon festivals and things like that. My parents weren't so much. And growing up in Australia, I never identified as being Asian, nor did I identify as being like Australian, really. I mean, I felt like cultureless a little bit, and I
Yeah.
can't really speak my language properly. I can speak very basic Mandarin. I can't read or write either. And so that disconnect, from my roots, I suppose, was the early part of my life where I didn't have much to do with the Chinese culture at all. And then in 2012, so I was working in corporate, like you said, in a lot of medical device companies and just basically going from job to job and floating. I didn't really have a purpose. I was, going through some darker times or some internal struggles for the most part of my 20s and even my late teens, actually. And so, and even up until my early 30s too, actually. And so, through that, I guess it really brought me to deep dive into healing in general. And so I experienced firsthand all different types of healers. And I was seeking answers and seeking to be healed in some way as well. But sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. So in 2012, I did inevitably help my family business in wholesale traditional Chinese medicine. So my dad had started that in 2003, but I didn't join until 2012. And from then, it was a natural progression where I became more and more connected, into Chinese culture, not even realizing and not really having meant to. It just sort of happened. Like when I had joined, I, wasn't someone who used to take any kind of medicine anyway. Like I I wasn't someone who ever had Panadol. But when I got sick, I just would sleep it off, drink water. I wasn't that into medicine. And then over the years, I became more and more connected to my own Chinese medicines, where in an instance, it really saved my life a few times, through terrible food poisoning to being hospitalized for a kidney infection that antibiotics didn't help me with. My own herbs actually helped me. And that was a big turning point in my life when I was like, whoa, there's way more to what I know for certain. And all this, about qi and Chinese metaphysics was starting to really pique my interest a lot more. And then, so throughout my healing journey, I consulted like astrologists as well, as, like shamans, psychologists, like psychics, things that were more on the metaphysical side, because I didn't find that psychology worked for me personally. And then I also did acupuncture and Chinese medicine, of course, as well. But what really landed with me was Chinese astrology. There was just something about it that was completely familiar, and it was something that it was a remembering when I first got in contact with it, and then when I first properly studied it, it just became more and more consuming and made more and more sense to me. And so it really particularly helped me understand the shadow aspects of my chart, and be able to validate my experiences, like the struggles that I had gone through, because it was all there mapped out. Like I was meant to have gone through that period in my life, where things, was so dark. But as a result, though, that darkness birthed, I suppose, my understanding now of yin and yang, and I suppose, the polarity of life, but not in such a devastating, harmful way as I feel like in modern society, there's sometimes, toxic positivity and this like focus on there's something wrong with you if you're not happy or if you're not consistent or stable, for example. And those are very yang traits. I feel like yin is quite misunderstood and it isn't represented faithfully in our culture, now like modern society and culture, actually. And I have found with some like astrology readers, they do project their own ideas of life, and it kind of comes through in the reading, and then it can plant really harmful seeds as well, which is what I experienced, and it can be like limiting beliefs and things like that. And so for me, it was one of those things. I'm like, I feel like like there are so many people who are vulnerable when they seek these types of services that, I really wanted to do it justice, and be able to share this work in a more supportive and nourishing kind of way. And so that's basically, the gist of why I do what I do and why I love what I do, and why I'm so passionate to share with everybody who is willing to listen, I suppose, because I feel it is so powerful for self-empowerment, self-development, and just growth, and basically living our most, like, living to our potential, really, and to be able to accept the shadow sides of us and realize that it's just power that needs more structure. And so when you have greater power and you're more powerful in some ways, or more unconventional, more, creative, we do need, some things to be able for us to harness that. Because without it, it can become destructive and harmful, which is what I had experienced for much of my life. And so I hope to sort of pass that on to whoever, is interested.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm sure so many people are going to resonate with it, because I was like, as soon as you was talking about your story, I was like, yeah, I feel that. I feel that. I had that. I was just like, these light bulbs were going out, and but no, thank you for um, being vulnerable and sharing all of everything that you went through. I think a lot of healers go through sort of a specific journey, where it's really dark at a time. And it's kind of like this hero's journey where they come out of it through their own unique solutions. And that's what we help other people with, and the rest of the world with. So that was really beautiful. And I totally relate to the fact about, when you're living in a different country but are originally from a different culture, and you don't know exactly where you fit in, because um I actually did have my early childhood in India, but when I was here, I would sometimes forget that I am Indian, and
Yeah.
and then you kind of sometimes feel like you don't necessarily always connect with that, when you go back, but then you're not quite just fully fitted in where you are either. So I relate to that, the biculture kid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool though, because then you get the best of all worlds too. So you're like a world citizen, really. Like I feel,
Exactly.
it's nice to be able to tap into, like your culture and my culture, and to be able to draw from that too.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And of course, the food, we can't complain about the food from both cultures. Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
actually, I'm very fortunate to be based in Sydney. I believe that Sydney has one of the best like food on the planet, because we have a huge multicultural society. I'm sure London is the same, but our food is authentic. Like in my opinion, Vietnamese and Thai food is better in Sydney than it is in the countries. So yeah, we're very, very lucky.
I did have amazing food when I went to Sydney last time,
Yeah.
so I totally believe you. But yeah, last time I was there during December 2020, right before COVID hit, and it was the best time. The food was incredible. Yeah, I loved it. Have to make another trip.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, now it all clicks as well, where the name of your company comes from, Yin Waters. Now we've gone full circle back to the deep intuition part.
It's been amazing, to be able to connect with, someone like-minded and to have you completely understand, I suppose the framework of, how I work as well. I find that you are such a good listener and you are absorbing everything so well, and also be able to apply your understanding from your lived experience, and it really enhances like this experience entirely. So I really want to thank you for this opportunity, like to be able to share on your platform. It really is, so special to be able to connect from the other side of the world. And like circling back to what you said, technology isn't all bad. And I know social media likes to talk about, how toxic, it can be, and all of the harms that it can do. However, there's that other side where we can do a lot of good things with it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And a full circle moment. Thank you so much. Before we come towards the end of the episode, how would you describe 2026 in one word for the listeners to take away? What would it be for you?
Fire.
Yeah.
And if that fire overwhelms, turn to water, or earth if you like. So through grounding or calmness. Mm.
There you have it. Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Lydia, thank you so much. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story. So, anyone who's listening, if they want to connect with you, are interested in your services, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can add me on Instagram or follow me on Instagram. So it's at Yin Waters, or you could Google Yin Waters Astrology or Lydia Lee, either or visit my website, www.yinwaters.com.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Guys, if you liked this episode, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who would benefit from it. And we need more real stories out there and more authentic stories out there. So leave your comments down below as well if you found this interesting. Maybe share your experiences with Chinese astrology as well. And I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot more about it very soon.